God, look at us.
We look good, all things considered. Aww.
Welcome back. I feel like is this the third episode in this capacity? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the first two episodes were like, okay, yeah, wow, that month went by really fast. And as much as it did, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we haven't recorded in a year and a half.
It does feel that way.
Not even that like so much has happened, but I'm just like, wow, it's really been a long time since we sat here and set up this studio and are kind of in this space. And maybe it's because we were supposed to record last week, but you were sick, getting those upgrades.
Oh
and
my God.
Probably breakdowns as well of shit inside you. But we're back. We're here. It's midsummer now. Holy shit.
Ooh, I don't know if I flashed the camera, so pardon me. YouTube friendly in the first minute.
We're like, hi, welcome. My pussy's on fire. Just kidding. I'm waiting for my period to come. Well, welcome back. I'm really excited to share just the little things that have come up this month. Victoria and I, as always, have not really chatted since then. And I know you've been dealing with some physical sickness, so I'm sure that's kind of put a pause in some things for you. How you feeling today?
I feel very neutral and disoriented at the same time. Yeah, being in this neutrality has been interesting because it does not mean I don't care. It does not mean that my empathy signals aren't firing on all cylinders still. It just means there's this like neutrality. I really feel at home within myself. And I just got home from an internal war on my consciousness and psyche and energy.
I'm like, can you to jump right in?
All right,
yes.
let me tell you.
Also, if you're not watching us today, she's giving Posh Spice to its max. Okay, talk about flashing. She's got her sunglasses on and she is looking so fucking good today.
Oh my God. Look at your butt, girl.
And I'm rocking Sporty Spice today. I got my overalls on with a bathing suit top.
Yes, because it's river time.
It is river time. And hopefully the living be a little bit easy.
Okay, so I've had a lot of time to sit and think and reflect and watch way too much TV. Not my favorite activity, but when I get the chance to totally rot, I rot hard. And I've been reflecting a lot on how you can either be at any given time in your life. I think some of us are more innately one or the other, a witch or a vampire. You either fall under being the witch who is anchored into source and who what's the word I want to use? Self-actualizes oneself and does not rely on others. And then the vampirical energy is that of using others who are anchored in to anchor in. And we've had vampirical moments, each and every one of us, at some points in our life.
I also feel that on both sides of that, I never thought about breaking it into those two categories, but I also feel that those categories become subcategories of like the pleasant and upliftment versus the destruction and unpleasant. So you can be siphoning people's energy in an unpleasant and, deteriorating way.
Yep.
Energy vampires, we've all experienced it. But we could also be siphoning energy from others. Siphoning is not a good word if I'm thinking of a pleasant thing, but in a way where it's like,
being inspired by.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for, because it's like someone's light activates something within you. But if I'm saying it that way, then it's activating within you and you're not really siphoning. But that's an interesting kind of duality to think about. Are you the vampire or the witch? America.
I totally look like the vampire right now.
You do. You do. If I would have known, I would have dressed up more witchy.
I'm like straight out of the Matrix. I needed to get goddessy today. I was very much disconnected from my goddess self, my
I'm
pleasure
sorry.
self.
Backtrack to what you were saying. I got distracted with this vampire and the way you look and your goddess energy today. So I think you were talking about how your consciousness got like flipped upside down.
Yeah, I got sick the day after the 4th of July. I went to a wedding and like bebopped all around Oregon and thought I was just tired, but I've been down and out for like over 3 weeks now. Yeah, it's been
That's a lot. I
bad.
didn't realize it was right after, because we saw each other on 4th of July.
Yeah, I'm
So I
so
didn't
glad I didn't get you
realize.
sick. I didn't actually get anyone else sick, knock on wood.
I'm like, hold on. Damn, that's really long. We are recording this on July 27th. That's almost a full month.
It is.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, that's my ride.
So I'm really interested to hear how this month then in the spiritual sense went for you, because, we have these themes and you're meant to see how these themes play out. And I cannot remember what your theme was from last.
I can't remember yours either.
That's so interesting. But you were sick most of that time. So yeah, I keep interrupting you. I'm so intrigued by your story already.
My theme was devotion to my senses and having a reset with my senses.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And I wanted like a recalibration of my hedonistic self. And every day I woke up, like in the first week and a half, it was a new symptom that totally altered or played with or did away with my senses of some kind. Like had the razor blade sore throat. Then it moved into my ear. I couldn't hear for like 3 weeks. Have had crazy bloody noses, can't really taste, can't smell. Tested negative for the vid, but sounds like that's what it is. So very interesting. And then just extreme exhaustion, like bone aching, like damn if I don't look 20 something, but feel 80 something.
Oh, girl, you do look 20 something. And I'm sorry you feel 80 something. And I know you also had something with your eye.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I got like pink eye, not the fecal matter kind. I didn't know that you could. Basically, my body was just trying to expel, and it
like
wasn't coming. It wasn't coming out of my nose or my ears. It was coming out of my eyes.
So you like couldn't really see that well.
Yep, can see.
Wow, I forgot that was your kind of theme this month. So it's funny that you're like, I want to experience more of my senses, and they're like, well, let's take them away.
Yeah.
That's
one at a time.
Great. Do you feel like, and I don't know if you were able to even notice because you were sick, but do you feel like when you couldn't smell as much, like you could hear better? I mean, it was all kind of happening at once. So I don't know if you, but you know how they say like you did?
I felt very hypersensitive to the sense that I did have the stronger spectrum of. But it made me feel very insecure and doubt my intuition, because I would think a sound was coming from over there and then the sound was over there. And I just,
just got chills.
I couldn't.
Girl.
Yeah.
That's
it was
crazy.
Totally. I've had a reset. Like I would not wish upon my worst enemy. Maybe a few people who I think could rise up in their consciousness.
And that's interesting too, that it brought about like this insecurity. For your intuition, as opposed to, because that's such a physical thing, right? To not be able to smell properly or taste or see properly. And when we think like getting intuition, it's yes, we see, we smell, we hear things, but it's like a different lens to it. So I wouldn't think that it would affect your confidence in receiving messages.
Yeah. Yep. And my dream world has been very fuzzy between that and the waking life. Like it's been one and the same. I don't feel like there's a separation between the two worlds right now, which has gotten me really reflecting on reality versus fantasy and what is real, what is the truth. I think we're all kind of hit with the what is the truth? What is my truth? What is their truth?
God,
how do we all integrate our truths and coexist in unity? Yeah.
I think that's a huge one right now for the consciousness, is like, what is the, for lack of a better word, like global truth? What is the
Mhm.
like mundane truth between false news and people lying and like, bribes and suing and AI videos that are coming out or
Oh
really
my
bad
gosh.
CGI videos. I just watched this thing and it was like, oh, look, here's this video of this. And ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, I believe in the dragons. Never mind in the ethereal realm, but I'm like, I'm a fourth wing lover and I'm like, catch me riding a real dragon. But they were like, look at this video of a dragon. I was like, that is so fucking no. Like, no. And they were like, I put in an AI thing and it's zero AI. Yeah, it's CGI. Like, it's just like trying to find the truth when there's just like so much BS out there
Mhm.
clouds you from finding your own truth.
On top of our amnesia, right? The agreement of coming down here into a human body and getting to experience consciousness, but forgetting who you are, where you came from. And my gosh,
I know.
no wonder we're so tired. Well, I'm tired. I'm not going to speak for you, but
Uh,
how are you feeling?
a little tired. Um, in the physical sense, I'm waiting for my period to get here. So, I'm just like, girl, come on. I've been reflecting and very interesting. I was like looking at, um, what, and I haven't been journaling as much, but I was looking at like the few things that I did journal over the course of this month. And one of them was that like I had this like nitpicky thought in my brain about Andrew and I. And like, I remember like I used to be like, oh, anytime there was like this nitpicky thing, like not an issue in the way that we treat each other or anything, but just like in his existence, I'm like, well, do I want a guy who's more like this? Like, do I want a person who's more like this? And it's like ever since the ring came on, it's not like, do I want a person? It's like, okay, if that's what I'm looking for, how do I cultivate that more for Andrew and myself?
Mm.
Right. So, um, all of like the little small things have been so like viewed differently, which has been really nice. It's been really refreshing. It's been really like heartfelt. Um, but I'm another pattern that I'm noticing is when I'm getting my period, that PMS, whereas like eating my 60 veggies or 60 plants, 30 plants.
I know. I was like,
I'm like,
girl.
damn, 60, that's crazy. 30 plants a week has definitely like changed my hormones and allowed me to show up better. There's still obviously some like PMS things that happens because regardless of how much I bounce my hormones, like hormones change. Um, and I realized that every single time I am PMSing, I get so nitpicky and feel like there's such a bigger problem than there is.
Mm.
And it's, that classic hormonal where I'm like, well, you don't, or I don't, or we don't. And I'm noticing that it's less of nitpicky and just, it's all comparison. It's
Ooh.
all comparison. So, um, I never have any issues, even if I'm like seeing other people. It's just now when I'm PMSing and then seeing things on Instagram or hearing from other people, and I start comparing myself to people that I am not, that Andrew's not, that our relationship is not, that I start getting in my head. So I've been able to but the funny thing is, and I think I spoke about this last time, like expanding my bandwidth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having energy be able to move a lot faster because the bandwidth is a lot bigger. I think because of that bandwidth, the energy is moving so much faster that even like Andrew notices it. So like I'll journal something in the morning and be like, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like this. Maybe I'll ask him questions about like in this stage of his life, how does he feel about this? And then like, okay, I'll just give one TMI example. I was ovulating. So of course I'm journaling and I'm like, how do I have more sex? Like, how do we have, it's fine. It's just because I was ovulating. I was like, what do I want? What do I want from this? And I want him to feel hungry. Like, like, especially I'm reading all these smutty books. So I'm like, I want you to be possessive, but in a very healthy and consensual way, which is what I love about these smut books, by the way. And as soon as I wrote that down, I went downstairs and Mans was hungry. And I was like, oh, well, I guess we don't need to have that conversation, but allowing the energy to move just like made a quick response. And I was reflecting on that. Andrew and I went for a walk and I said to him, I go, obviously you proposed. So you had at least 50% in this situation to get to this point. I said, but I think it was me. I think because of all the work that I've done the past 6 months on my inner masculine, on like reprogramming myself and all this, like I was showing up different, and that led us to here. And he was just like, yeah. Which at first I was like, so you're trying to fucking say that I was the problem? But then I was like, no, that allowed him to show up differently, which allowed us to show up differently together, which allowed us to get to this new stage. So have been just like playing with the expansiveness of that, just expansive bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
I know that wasn't my theme, but that's just still something. And that it's funny too, because you mentioned your theme was the senses, and your senses got taken away, and you haven't had like the pleasant experience of your senses recently. And with this past month's, my theme was community and offering my medicine to community. And I'm recognizing that it's not as obvious as this sounds. It's not, I do this for a month and it's over. It's, I do this for a month and then it's the next layer of that and the next layer of that and the next layer of that. So my community aspect and offering my medicine to the community is definitely a part of this next coming month as well for me. So I'm interested to see how senses still play into this coming month for you.
Well, I hope I get them back.
I hope so too.
I am very grateful for our body's abilities to heal. I think my theme was devotion to my senses, right? And I've had a lot of time to reflect on what devotion really means to me. And it really is discipline with love in action, and being forced to heal in bed and be sedentary. That action was so, what's the word I want to use? Minuscule. Like it just was so subtle in a way that forced me to face elements of myself that I have been tucking away for a rainy day. And the rainy day came and rained its little cloud right on me. I'm like also in this mood where I'm like, no thoughts, no words. But I feel like as soon as I hear something from you, it's going to activate and it's all going to come out. Like, bleh.
Okay. I mean, don't force yourself.
I mean, kind of tired of bullshitting a lot of things, right?
Heard. Fucking heard. So I could share a little bit more about my theme of community, and feel free to jump in if it sparks something in you. Okay. So I guess for me, when it came to community and offering my medicine to community, what I found really interesting in reflecting of this month was I had said last episode how I love this format because there's no expectation of what it needs to look like. And yet I started this month with such an expectation that I felt I needed to meet. I was like, oh, offering myself to the community, that means going out and volunteering in the community. Right. So I was like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this. And then I very quickly got a pin that I want to.
A pin?
Like a
ping?
A ping. A pin in the map. A pin. A ping.
Oh, pin.
That I want to do a ceremony. And Victoria knows this because we will be doing it together.
I was curious what happened to this.
It's still happening, just in divine timing. But I was thinking about how the government over many, many decades have been using witches and spiritual people to do their bidding, to do remote viewing, I was reading this CIA document where they had gotten spiritual people, witches, whatever, to literally put hexes on other leaders who then died within 6 months. And I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I not doing something like that? With, the lens of light and compassion, because I'm not here to foster fear. I'm not here to foster the negativity. But I'm like, I've spent a really long time, and I'm not saying this in like a bad way. I've spent a really, really long time working on my reality, my internal and external world. And I think that is necessary to learn the tools. But I am fucking strong and I am fucking potent. And I live in a community of very potent witches. And I'm like, why are we not coming together to not only be like, well, I'm not going to live in a reality where people do that. Yeah, great, cool. You may not, but the rest of the world is.
Mhm.
So, how can I offer my medicine on a global scale? And again, through the lens of compassion, through the lens of, I am going to infuse Earth's grid with so much motherfucking light that you're either going to come to the light or your shadow, your darkness is going to be annihilated. And I'm not saying I'm sending out harm. I'm just sending out so much light that who knows what happens to you if you decide not to join the light. You know what I mean? That's not for me to say. So I got this ping and I was like, okay, Victoria, I have 3 other friends in Portland that are going to be joining us. And they all kind of hold a different pillar of like a different string of tapestry that we get to weave together. And I really, really, really want to do it where it's 3 points of contact. So we're going to have our circle here, my mother's circle in New York. And I was trying to contact my sisters in Florida, but I think it just, for whatever reason, didn't really work out. So if you know anyone in another state, just having that 3rd point of contact. So again, this expectation that I have 3 weeks since this download came in until we were recording. And I'm trying to get 3 very busy people or 4 very busy people and myself aligned in time with New York witches. So we're in a 3-day window of each other. And the timing just didn't work out. And at first that felt really shitty because my expectation was my job is to share my medicine to the community. This was what I was told to share my community with my community. And I need to do it before the next podcast episode because that's my goal. And then I had to laugh at myself and be like, okay, like divine timing is divine timing. And if it's not meant to happen right now, then it's not meant to happen right now. Long behold, it did not happen yet. Hopefully in this next month, it does, we can align our schedules because I do think it's important to stop waiting around. And I really want to be able to anchor it in America so it ripples out across the globe, to just really be like, hey, we are anchoring in love, we are anchoring in compassion, and all those who cannot align vibrationally with that, may you shake apart and dissolve. Offering peace regardless of, you know, my mom's circle, not to call them out, but they're not all politically aligned with me. And yet they were all like, but we need more compassion and we need more peace. So again, it's not about sitting here and being like, I want to go for this political figure. I want to go after this like sector of America, but just in general, we are anchoring the new consciousness deeper and deeper into earth. And we are just both anchoring that in and sending a pulse to activate our bodies to be able to hold that, which could be why you got so sick, right? Your body is upgrading in order to hold what we're going to try to anchor. So that was a really kind of like, I had to take a step back and be like, yeah, these are things that I want to do, but recognizing that the perspective needed to switch from I want to offer my medicine, I want to offer my medicine, I want to offer my medicine, which is ego, to, well, it was offer my medicine to the community. So let me just focus on the community and then see what comes up in my field and it will happen authentically.
I'm so stoked for this. Thank you for getting this and continuing to trust that it'll happen because it really does feel like the beginning of a series of intentional gatherings where we get to bring our medicine to the table, which is going to feel really, really good. And we're going to hold the visions of peace and everyone being fed and everyone being safe. It really has me thinking, what does heaven on earth look like? What does heaven on earth feel like? How do I live in that? How do I be in that? Regardless of where certain timelines are right now. I've really started to trust that the future is undefined. and that you can plan and you can prepare and you can do the things now to help your future self. I'm all for that. But there are so many timelines merging and unmerging that the vision of the future is very unclear,
Yes.
although consciously we know what is about to unfold. And the final heydays of evil and hate are at an all-time high and
Mm-hmm.
extreme, having their last heyday.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not condoning any of it, but we're preparing. We're sharpening our energetic swords.
Yes.
And obviously going through some upgrades and
To prepare. Yeah.
preparing.
I love what you said about, yes, timelines merging, but timelines unmerging,
Unmerging.
demerging. I never thought
I
of it
think
that
it's
way,
unmerged, but
but you're so right. And that's something else that came through with me is like, there is no future.
mm-hmm,
There is no future to worry about. There is no past to reflect on. There is right now
mm-hmm,
and all the other parallel lifetimes and timelines of right now, which in my conscious brain might look like the future or look like the past, but it's all right now. So I love that concept of just like, yes, we could always be looking out for our future self, right? Taking care of the things we need to, whether it be mundane, saving for our future, or, spiritual, but it has to happen now. It has to be here now. Otherwise, you're not setting anything up. And I think that's why community came to me in the way that it did this month, in order to prepare for this ceremony, in order to prepare for this anchoring in. Because what I realized was how I was, quote unquote, offering my medicine to community was it was so small. I thought it
mm-hmm.
needed to be so much bigger, but it's in preparation. It's setting the seeds. So it looked like taking the 8th grade on their 8th grade trip and putting them in meditation and breathing exercises and reflection, or working with the 7th grade and having them do a meditation. And I did the light language exercise with them.
Oh, you did it.
Can I tell you that half of them were able to communicate? And the 2 teachers I had do it were freaked the fuck out.
I love it.
They were like, how did I pick that up? And whether it's tonality or body language that's giving it, there's still a deeper meaning, right? It's not just, oh, you're showing me joy. They were like, I'm getting hope. I'm getting like, and they were like, holy shit, that's what I said, which led me to leading them through a practice of remote viewing.
Ooh.
Or being at Megan and Eben's sound journey. And something I loved, something that they did this round, and I haven't been there in a while, so they may have been doing it more often, was at the end, after everyone checked in with each other, they said, there are so many beautiful medicine workers here. Who else has something they want to offer to the community? People were like, I have a class going on. I have this going on. I was like, we have a podcast, and I do these kinds of readings. And I ended up connecting with 2 people at the end, and I was laugh crying. I was laugh crying talking about just like our guides and like how we interact. And I ended up giving a reading with one of the guys like 2 weeks later. And like now we kind of opened up this bigger community, and everyone in that circle, regardless of what came through in the journey, every single person was like community, 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 community.
Yes.
It is such like, it is really anchoring in. So I had more readings going on and like people joining my programs. I'm offering my medicine in these smaller ways. It was funny because after that last episode, immediately I went to work and we had a meeting with everyone about next year. Our entire theme for the school year is community. So I have been setting curriculum, policies, new things in the calendar for next year. We rearranged the entire fucking school. I put fucking tables on my back, bro. So that way it elicits more community, more support. And within that is not just community in the school, but starting groups with the kids on how do we support communities outside of the school, whether that be in Portland or beyond. So I'm recognizing that I am anchoring the foundations for this new community living, community thriving. And in that, even just recognizing the importance of being a part of community in joy. So stumbling upon concert in the park at Laurelhurst by accident, or comedy in the park, or walking around with friends and blowing bubbles, like finding laughter, sharing meals. Like I'm recognizing that when I go beyond my immediate friend group that feels natural and like mundane almost because we see each other often, and I start being a part of, I went to go see Patagonia, who's the best fucking drag queen ever, and her whole show was a protest for the environment, for trans rights, for rights of everyone. And being in Portland in these pockets that bring such joy and hope, I'm like, oh, it's so much more important than like helping the struggling community. That is equally important, but it is important to just show up and see the community and be like, oh, we are still here. We do still love each other. We do still want to find joy, and we want to share, and we want to, so just seeing all these small pieces of community feels so powerful to me. And I'm really, really excited as to like this foundation that's being kind of set in order to then hold an anchor in this light. I didn't mean to make you choke, girl.
Something that's kind of funny and ironic and synchronistic is I went to Megan's sound ceremony. It was for women and female kin only, and it was probably a week or two after.
It was the week after, yeah.
So the card I pulled, someone had brought cards, and the card I pulled was about community. And literally, as I was reading the first sentence, the woman next to me was like, "Oh, everything is always better in community." Ugh. And that was essentially what the first line was. So I looked at her and I was like, "Girl, look at this." So we're in sync.
Yeah.
It really does. We're not meant to do this alone.
No. And I hear a lot of people talking about it, and it feels really good because it doesn't feel yet, because I know it will become a capitalist thing. But right now, everyone is talking about it in its true essence of really wanting to be in community, supporting community, showing up for community, having fun in community. And eventually, it will become capitalistic in its Western monolith.
Will it, though?
They'll try to.
They'll try, but we're so beyond falling for that.
And I hope that we all
Many of us
just
are.
be mindful that there will be people who are like, and there's people out there who are sharing their medicine, and it needs to be reciprocal. I'm not saying don't get paid, but be mindful about people charging crazy amount of money for you to just sit in space with somebody else, because you can cultivate that on your own. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Some people need the external support to get into that, but I don't see it yet, but there is always the threat that capitalism tries to steal what we're trying to cultivate. So be mindful of that.
Yeah.
But it does feel very generic and authentic in the way that people are calling for community, in both like a way to help, but also just a way to bring hope and joy to one another again.
Teal Swan, who I'm not like a huge fan of at all, but sometimes she makes a good point. Some video popped up, I think it was like on YouTube Reels, and she was talking about the betrayal that millennials have because of the world that was created by boomers, and how we were lied to our entire lives to what it means to be successful and how to become successful. And so she was hitting on this point that millennials have been working through this betrayal trauma with their reality. And we're all hitting this point, entering a third or halfway into our lives potentially, of, whoa, none of this makes sense. None of this is the world we want to live in. A lot of us are stepping into our leadership, managerial, whatever roles where we have some authority. And I'm really stoked to see how this plays out for us and for the next generations. And I hope that they understand the brunt of the shift, the total collapse of our realities that has paved the way for them to get to experience their reality how they choose, and to live in free will. And yeah, this whole betrayal trauma has been a lifelong issue for me, or
Mm.
opportunity to trust. Uh,
I couldn't see your eyes, but I know there was like an eye roll behind those glasses.
for sure. Uh, and so now we're at this interesting juncture where we have to get the fuck out of our own ways
Mm.
and potentially practice forgiveness, but also detach from that reality and start to hold the vision and see visions and
Mm.
create visions of the world we want to live in. So, what is heaven on earth? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How can you anchor that in
Mm.
now?
Mm-hmm.
And so, my theme for this upcoming month is anchoring,
Mm.
anchoring in whatever this looks like. I'm like, please, like, give me a break. Don't make it hurt. I really hope it can be one of those things where we can float and
With ease, with ease.
be in the flow. Yeah.
Mm. That's funny that you mentioned that too, because I just saw a video that was talking about, like, it was just like a silly video that was like, oh, what's millennials' midlife crisis going to be? And thinking about what like the typical midlife crisis, or what we were like, what we saw in media or sold like growing up when our parents were going through or whatever, was buying a sports car, cheating on your partner, like a lot of greed, a lot of capitalism, a
Mhm.
lot of sexualization. And this video talks about, and I feel like it's so true, that the millennial midlife crisis is like just going back to being a child,
Oh.
getting and they explained it as getting the life that we were shown in TV shows, right? Being able to have all the toys and all the cool stuff and having all like the video game headset and all that. Like, yeah, actually we are making that now. And that's our midlife crisis, is not going out and blowing our money, not going out and like cheating on our partners, and like, having this like scandalous life because, ooh,
Escapism.
yes, our escapism is fairy smut. Welcome. And I'm loving it. And I am so deep within it. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Because again, it's showing actually really healthy relationships for people who are interested in, kink culture or, anything like that, because there is so much consent, there is so much respect. So it's interesting how even in our form of escapism as millennials, we're doing so in ways that like still empower us, still bring stability and authenticity. And how do we leave toxic relationships to find one that may on the outside look toxic because they're like, doing whatever to you, but there's such a level of respect and consent there. And I feel that that is what we are. That is the heaven on earth that we're building, is that I can be authentic and get what I want, like, pursue what I want, but I will do so through compassion, through respect, through consent. So that's really funny that came up. And similarly with anchoring in.
Well, I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
I think that we have a better understanding of how to play in the spectrum of reality and fantasy.
Mm.
And we have those boundaries very clearly laid out, and we do it with consent
Yeah.
and intentionality that I don't think I've really witnessed
Yes.
before.
And I like that you said that there's those boundaries, because I think that there 100% are. But I also think because we know how to play with reality, we're bending.
Mm-hmm.
We're bending these boundaries. So where it used to not, like kink culture was like secret. Like now it's like, okay, wear a collar to the mall. Who gives a shit? Right? Like I see that that's consensual. I know how consensual that really
like
is.
wear your vibrator to the mall and have your partner have the app
yes, 100%, 100%. Or like I keep seeing, speaking of fairy smut, like all these people like at cosplay things, and I'm like, cosplay? Catch me wearing that every day. I'm like, who doesn't need a fake dagger on their hip? I mean, come on. So I think it's also this quote unquote coming back to childhood is bringing imagination and play into the everyday and bending those boundaries, but having strong enough boundaries of consent and respect that we can do so without harming each other, that we could do so without offending each other, that we could do so with a sense of education, that I know why I'm doing this and where it comes from, and I'm honoring where it comes from. If it comes from a different culture, some of it is just straight up make-believe. Well, I think nothing's make-believe. I think it's all just in another reality. But we're doing so with consent, and I love that.
Everything's real.
Everything's real.
But is it true to you?
Oh. Oh, that's good. So your RIP, but you gave Ozzy for a second.
Okay, we haven't talked
I
about that
know.
yet.
I didn't even. I meant to text you. I
Thank
really
you.
did. I thought about you, but I was moving furniture and I didn't have my phone on me.
The very first day I got sick, it was July 5th. It was the day of his last concert. And I had already been
That's
planning on
right.
paying the $30 and live streaming it, but I was so sick. I listened to heavy metal for 10 hours that day because there was a delay and I'd have to go and charge my iPad. But from 7:30 a.m. until like 5-ish.
Is that how long the concert was?
Uh-huh.
Holy shit.
They had so many artists there, and it really was a living funeral. It was really one of the most beautiful ceremonies to ever, I mean, to have the privilege to get to plan a living funeral
Right?
is such a gift. And
Crazy.
it was it was Moby. Moby was, saying something like, even though he's like, I hate to break it to you, Sabbath fans and Ozzy fans, but even though he was called the Prince of Darkness, he was one of the most jovial, light-loving people. And I was like, yes, because the darkness, to really be anchored in the darkness, you got to have a little bit of that.
Oh, for sure.
And I felt very seen by that statement because I'm like, I feel so like being in the darkness is my, part of my identity, but also having a freaking laugh and not taking things so seriously makes being an anchor in the darkness.
Yeah. Talk about being able to shift those boundaries even, because he was able to do this and then just leave this earth, and like, that's a totally, not saying that people haven't done that in the past, like kind of knowing that it's coming, but like, what a way to go. And I feel like we're opening that veil so much so that we're going to know when these things are happening, and we're going to be able to do so through celebration instead of just like sorrow, which of course there still is like heavy hearts for when we lose someone that we care about or that was so impactful, but it's coming back to celebration instead of, such heavy grief, even though there will be grief.
Well, and it goes to show that when you make a really big impact in the world, your legacy lives on through the hearts of others, through your music, through your craft. And I was like, one perk to him passing is that Aussie Boneyard Radio has been non-stop Sabbath or Aussie, and I'm here for it because I don't want to hear fucking AC/DC on my Aussie Boneyard Radio. Thank you, Sirius XM Radio. I want to hear Ozzy. I want to hear Sabbath. So,
oh my God, I love that.
Long live Bloody Sabbath.
Hell yeah. And I think that also like kind of ties back to giving to your community. Like, you may not be a famous person that's going to have this massive legacy that people who have never met you know, but what are you leaving behind in the people who do know you? Right? Because your memory will live in their hearts. So what's the memory? What's the medicine you want to be leaving behind? That's what you do now, even as someone in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, like cultivating that now, because it's not the one-off thing you do, but it's the energy you most commonly emit that is remembered. And that's your legacy that you're leaving behind with the people that love you. So yeah, really honing in, what do you offer the community? That's the legacy you're leaving behind.
We all take from the living library of earth, but what are we putting into the library here? How are you embedding your consciousness, your unique blueprint back into the earth?
Yeah, because generations from now will grab your book and say, well, my ancestors did this and it helped cultivate that. And how am I going to utilize that medicine the same way we do right now when we look at our ancestors or other lineages and say, well, how am I going to utilize that now?
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying I reminded you of Ozzy.
Yeah, there was a way that you like like moved your body. I was like, okay, reincarnated already in a living person.
Oh,
Anchoring is
he can come through me any day.
anchoring is your theme next month, and I see you a month from now, and you're like, well, I anchored in Ozzy every day. I anchored him in. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to expand on your theme for next month of anchoring?
I don't have the vision right now for what it's going to look like. I just have the trust that it will happen when it's going to happen. And like with an open heart, here we go.
For me, what I pulled this morning was strength, which is scary a little bit. I'm like, why do I need to have strength next month?
Yeah.
But it was really strength and confidence to create. That was the main message of the card, is like creating and being within the creatrix. And I feel like that strength, what stood out, were like what kind of pinged in me was more about strength to overcome imposter syndrome. Because I feel like when you're offering, when you're creating, whether that be just like making a painting or creating this podcast or setting my curriculum for next year or this ceremony, there is that little bit of imposter syndrome. And I'm realizing that imposter syndrome is less now in this stage of my life to do with I don't actually have confidence in myself to do it, but more about, do people have confidence in me, right? Do they feel that I'm accredited enough? Do they feel that I'm experienced enough? And honestly, I don't fucking care. Because I know what I'm doing and I'm good at what I'm doing and I've practiced what I'm doing and I'm not fucking bullshitting you. So having strength, having confidence to create is for me for next month. And again, I remind myself here now today that it's about seeing how strength, confidence, and creativity shows up in my field, not that it needs to look any type of way. And hopefully the next time I see you, we will have plenty to share about that ceremony. And I offer you to do the same, even if it's not during the 3-day window that we're trying to do here, but you come together with your circle of people or on your own and just anchor in peace and light and compassion and unity for all of Earth, because we are being called to now expand beyond ourselves.
With this upcoming A8 portal, Leo season, the sun just being super bright in the sky for us in the Northern Hemisphere, there is this opportunity, I think, to see through a lot of bullshit. And I really, really encourage you to anchor in your transmission of trust for what's to come, because things are very ugly right now in the world. And it's important that we take time to make things beautiful in our own way and not feel guilty for doing so. And may all be fed. May we all be cared for. May we all be protected. May we all be free. May we live in our free will.
So it is.
So it is.
Woo! Glasses come off. Well, good luck to all of us in this next coming month, because I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a doozy. So I'm giving us all a warning.
We love you.
We love you. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Mwah.